It's prom season. I'm going to teach you some money-saving ways to make your own boutonniere or pocket square for your son's prom. And it's almost wedding season, so the same boutonniere and pocket square can be made for a wedding. Welcome to another video. Now, pocket squares have been very popular in the last few years, and they range between $40 to $55 for a pocket square. Now, I went to Trader Joe's and went and bought one of those little posies they have, at least at my Trader Joe's. They'll have these like miniature bouquets with kind of random selection of flowers for $3.99. So this is what I got for $3.99 at Trader Joe's. I chose it because I like this little mini rose that's this miniature rose that has two colors, sort of dark pink, light pink, and white. And then it has nice assortment of greens here. And I'm going to use $3.99 worth of Trader Joe's, kind of miscellaneous little tiny bouquet to make a $50 pocket square. What we're going to start with is a piece of cardboard. This is actually a piece of cardboard from the cover of my son's composition book. I chose it because you know how the composition book has like a black edge, black tape? So I cut it along that edge so that the black tape would show up here. And what I did to cover the bottom part of the composition book is this wonderful material that I have been using for many years. It's a faux leaf wrap. It looks like a tea leaf, but it's actually like a waterproof acetate ribbon. And you can buy this at the flower market. You don't have to buy this. You can use a black ribbon, or you could just leave it as a piece of cardboard because it's not really going to show. And you could just place some black tape around the top. There are a lot of ways to make your cardboard look nice. I chose this because we're going to put it in a black tux, and the black, if any of it shows, is not going to be very obvious. Okay, and then this part, I just want to have it finished so it looks nice. And if you're just making it for your son, you don't even have to finish the cardboard part if you don't want to. Okay, but this is a great product. We actually use this in centerpieces when we use cylinder vases, like standard cylinder vases. We'll use that around the inside of the cylinder vase, and that will cover your floral foam instead of fussing with tea leaves all the time. Okay, so this is a nice product to have. So let's get started. So what you need is Oasis Floral Adhesive. This is the best glue ever. It is very sticky and it's waterproof. It's really messy to work with, but there's nothing like it. So we make a lot of corsages, flower girl wreaths, all sorts of things with this glue. And I even will glue in things in bridal bouquets instead of adding it in as real stems at the very end. Anyway, so this is something you need to get. This is Oasis Floral Adhesive. When I was starting out in the floral business, this came in an old-fashioned tin. And it was terrible because it was expensive, but you could never finish the tin up before the whole thing dried up. So now at least it comes in a more user-friendly tube. And you're going to need to have scissors and clippers. And I like to work using these gloves from Costco, these single-use gloves when I'm using the floral glue, so it just doesn't get all over my hands. So I'm going to take a look at what I got for $3.99 from Trader Joe's. I have one stem of the miniature rose, spray rose. That's the main reason why I chose this bunch. Some really cute little one stem of mums with a black center, almost like a little mini anemone. Sprigs of baby carnation, baby pink carnation, the mini carnations. One stem of miniature alstroemeria. This is really pretty. I like the little green tips. One, like a sprig of this micro mini carnation, which is actually really pretty. I think that would be a nice filler. One stem of this green trachelium. One stem of green ball. This is a green dianthus. This is in the carnation family. And one stem of hypericum berry in kind of a peachy color. So I think I'm not going to use the pink mini cards in this one, but I'll use the other materials in here. What you need to do with the pocket square is kind of build a base with foliage. So I went out and cut just a little sprig of miniature Pittosporum from my garden. Any greenery will do that's kind of small, like boxwood would be good. And then I see that we have trachelium in this mossy green ball. So you want to build like a layer of kind of textured material here as a base to kind of hold your heavier flowers like roses. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to put my gloves on so that I'm not getting the glue all over my fingers. And I have down a piece of cellophane to protect my counter. And it's also nice to be able to squeeze some glue, a dot of glue here, and like a little puddle of glue for you to dip your stems in. That's how we use it. I often just save the wrapping from flowers. The cellophane's great because you can use it to clean the tip of your nozzle when you're done. Okay, very important to do that, otherwise it'll be glued shut. So this glue gets a little tackier as it dries, so you want to kind of let it be a little bit dry, not very dry. So I'm just going to put a little dot of it right here, and that's going to be my little pot of glue that I'm going to be working from. And then I'm going to just have like little sprigs of this. I should have pre-cut this, but at least I can show you the process. Just cut little sprigs of this greenery for your base. You can always add a little more if you want it to show above the top. Okay, so we're just going to dip that in here, and we're just going to put some here. So the pocket squares have been all the rage for weddings last few years. And they're very nice because you don't have to fuss with pins, but they're more expensive. Like I told you, they range about $40 to $55 for a pocket square. Now, as a professional florist who does a lot of weddings and events, I can tell you that the personal flowers are the most profitable because, you need to, it's a lot of labor involved. But if you want to make it yourself, there's actually very little materials involved. Okay, so I'm just gluing some leaves on. And I don't think the pocket square is just sort of like a row of pretty little flowers. You don't need to stick up really high because I think that you want to keep it like a little bit subtler. Okay. All right. So I've got the row of greenery glued on. And now I'm going to use trachelium, which is sort of a mossy green. I have this growing in the garden in like a black purple, but I love the green because it's so mossy and neutral and perfect for what we're doing. So I kind of got lucky with my little nosegay here that I got from Trader Joe's. This is going to go next. That mossy texture is great because that means you can glue your roses and other flowers on top. Kind of holds it. That makes sense. And it's neutral in terms of color. Okay, we're going to cut them in really tiny little sprigs. Well, it looks almost like parsley, but it's finer. Okay. See how that glue is getting tackier and tackier? See, it dries really quickly, this glue. And the wonderful thing is you can put it in the fridge and it will be fine in a cold fridge. And it's waterproof. It's an amazing product. I don't know how to make corsages without it. I mean, boutonnieres we usually wire and tape, but corsages we do a lot of this gluing. Now I'm going to start with my roses. I'm going to cut it pretty short because we don't want it to be too bulky. And then I think I'm going to need a little more glue than this. I might just apply the glue directly to the rose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set that aside for a moment, let it get a little tackier, and just put glue on another rose here. And then, see, it's getting stuck to my hand. Another rose here. This is I love spray roses for boutonnieres and corsages because you have the natural stages of bloom in each stem. You've got the bud, you have some semi-open ones, more open ones. Okay, I'm going to start with the 3 roses and see how it goes. Put one here. You see how that mossy trachelium just kind of holds it in place? Okay, there's 2 roses here. Do a 3rd rose here. Kind of like a little row of roses right there. And then I'm going to see if I want to use some of these little accent flowers. I think I want a little rosebud, so you don't just have a row of roses there. Put that little rosebud, that unopened bud somewhere here. Kind of fun, just like creating a little micro arrangement almost. It's really fun. And then maybe, let's see, do you think we should use one of these little mums? I like that. I like little black centers on these, like a little mini anemone. Okay, so a little mini anemone here. Oh, so charming. Need a little more glue. I'm going to refill the little pot of glue here. Okay. Do 2 little daisy mums there. That's really cute. I like that. Now we've got a little bit of foliage. I'm just going to take a look to see how it looks. We need a little bit of filler. I'm kind of intrigued by this little micro mini carnation. It almost doesn't have any color to it, which is great because it's actually a little bit purpley, but because the flower part is so small, it's mostly green and kind of frilly. So I might add that in as sort of like a filler flower. Go. It's really cute. Find another sprig that has a lot of the little tiny micro buds. Not much of a flower. Okay. Got some on this side. When I was doing lots of weddings, I would save the boutonnieres and corsages for last or end of the day when you're exhausted and you've been walking around and standing for 6, 7 hours. Then I could sit down in my studio and just zone out and do the boutonnieres and corsages and watch Netflix. So I would save the corsage work for the end of the day, because you can always put it in the fridge when you're done. Okay, I think I am done. I didn't even use any of that mossy green ball. Maybe I want a little bit of that mossy texture. I'll just pull a little sprig of it off and glue it on there because I like that mossy texture. Once again, it's like a filler. I like how this little pocket square is turning out. It's really cute. I'm going to have to let it dry before I put in the tux jacket because I don't want to get glue all over the tux jacket. That's another reason why you want to make these a little ahead of time if you are doing this for a wedding. You want to make sure the glue is dry and, you're not going to get glue on somebody's tux. And definitely the corsages, you don't want to get it, glue on somebody's dress or on their wrist. So I make these, a couple days before the wedding. Keep it in a box, like we have the corsage and boutonniere boxes, and make sure they're dry, and then the glue smell kind of goes away after a day or so. Well, this turned out really great. We're able to make a $50 pocket square for less than $3.99 worth of Trader Joe's flowers, just with cardboard glue and a little tiny posy. Now the glue's dried. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the lapel of my husband's tux jacket, and let's see how it turned out. Oh, it looks great against the black. So now let's move on to a classic boutonniere. So what I have here are some sprigs of uh, kind of peachy pink roses that I just picked from the garden. And I'm just going to pick one that's half blooming, a good boutonniere size. Now, of course, you can buy roses, and just a single stem will make a beautiful boutonniere for you. I'm going to take this stem right here. I'm not a big fan of giant boutonnieres. I think this is a good size flower for a boutonniere. And then I'm going to cut a side bud as a little accent. Let's go ahead and wire and tape these roses. What I have here is 22 gauge wire. This is sort of a standard. I usually use either 22 or 24 gauge wire for boutonnieres and corsages, depending on the size of the flower head. These are the 22 gauge. Okay. I have a wire. I just stick it straight up the rose. And if you want to reinforce it, you could double wire it. We can go ahead and double wire that. Do one on the other side. And then just use our floral tape. Now, floral tape has sort of like a sticky wax embedded in this kind of papery ribbon, and it's stickier when you pull it apart. So pull apart your tape when you're using it. What you do is you fix it to the stem of the rose, and then this is when I can tell a pro from an amateur. Pro, we go down diagonally like this. When I was just starting out, it'd take me a long time to wire and tape because I'm winding and winding and winding and winding it. Now you pull it kind of vertical to go down your tape really quickly. I'll show you that again. Now for the bud, I think one wire is enough. So I'm just going to use a single 22 gauge wire. I'll show you again how we do wire and taping quickly. You kind of secure it to the stem of your rose. Don't worry about the sepals. I just kind of either take them off or keep them in. And once it's secured, you pull it vertical like this down the length of the wire instead of trying to go, around and around it. Oops. Then you pull it vertical down the wire. So you cover that length of wire really quickly instead of having to go around and around and around and around and around all the way down. So these two are wired and taped nicely. I have a little bit of filler flower, just some baby's breath. With filler flower, you just want to make sure you use something that'll look nice and hold up out of water. That's the main thing with all boutonnieres and corsages. You just want to make sure you use filler, greenery, and flowers that will last for several hours out of water. And for greenery, I don't know. I've got some Dusty Miller. I have some small Pittosporum, some mini Pittosporum. Not sure what I'm going to use. Maybe I'll use the Dusty Miller. Got the Dusty Miller here. I'm just going to use some leaves from the bottom. Now, I don't bother wiring the foliage. I just tape it right into the boutonniere. So we're just going to kind of compose it in our hand, kind of a pretty composition with the roses and the baby's breath. Maybe that's too much baby's breath. I'll just use a little bit down here, like this, like that, like this. And then we're going to add the foliage. Now, you can tape it off right now and then add the foliage, or you can add the foliage and tape it off altogether. Depending on your level of expertise, I'm going to go ahead and tape it off so it's a little easier to hold. You don't have to go all the way down, just enough to secure the baby's breath. And then we're going to compose the Dusty Miller around the boutonniere.
Okay. Then we're going to tape the whole thing down. Now, what we do for weddings is I'll make these a day or two ahead of the wedding, and I will keep it in water. Even though it's wire and taped, you saw that I left some stem of the rose on there about 2 to 3 inches. The reason I do that, leave the stem on, is that then you could drink water. If you cut it off too short, then you can't put it in a little vase to drink water. And this looks like about the right length of stem for a boutonniere. So I'm going to cut that off with the heavy wire snips. And I always like to finish off my boutonnieres with a ribbon around the tape, because I think the tape being kind of sticky and green just doesn't look very nice. So I have a lot of these skinny ribbons. These are 5/8 inch ribbon. I have it in silver as well as black. Now in my wedding work, I often ask the bride what color tux the groom and groomsmen are wearing, and I'll match it to the tux, but you can also match it to the boutonniere. Now, because we're using the silvery dusty miller, the silver ribbon would be really beautiful with the boutonniere. And since my mannequin here is wearing a black tux, I can also do a black ribbon to finish the boutonniere. So it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to use the silver ribbon to go with a dusty miller. And what you do is just start from the bottom up. I put the ribbon against the stem, hold it with a finger, and then just start winding it up like you would tape a tennis racket. And to secure the ribbon, I'm using a tiny little pin that's got a pearl head, and it's only 1/2 inch pin. These are wonderful. I buy it at the flower supply store, and I use it also to secure the ribbon on bouquets for bridesmaids and brides. So here we have it, a finished boutonniere. I'm going to show you how to affix it to a tuxedo. The secret is to use 2 long pins. Instead of the little skinny pearl pins that they call boutonniere pins, I use these rhinestone-headed corsage pins. These are great because they're long and they're very secure. And the secret to boutonnieres is to use 2 pins so that it doesn't swivel back and forth on the jacket. And you're not trying to put the pin through horizontally. What we're doing is putting 2 pins up back into the rose head. So there's nothing to stick anybody, and it keeps the boutonniere secure on the jacket. So we'll stuck 1 pin through the jacket and through the stem back into the rose head, and a second one, and that secures it on the jacket and it won't swivel. And that's how you do a standard boutonniere. So you can save a lot of money doing your own pocket square boutonniere for prom or wedding season. It's very inexpensive to do, and it's actually not very hard. I hope you learned something in this video. As always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.